Hello. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how you can use the Tableau Server REST API to programmatically switch sites. So if you've used the REST API at all, you're probably pretty familiar with pulling information from a site. But the thing is, everything that you're doing, whether you're pulling a list of users, whether you're publishing a workbook, this is all happening within the context of one specific site, and that would be the site that you authenticated into. So there is a Tableau Server REST API endpoint that exists that's going to allow us to tell Tableau Server which site we want to switch to. Now, if you're a Tableau Online user, this is not going to be a video for you. This is not the droid you're looking for. This is only for Tableau Server because on Tableau Online, you only have one site that you can interact with. So let's take a look at a specific use case. I already mentioned pulling information about users. So that's actually the example, the use case that we're going to be taking a look at. And let's start to put this together. To set the stage, let's take a look at one site I have in a Tableau Server environment. This site is named Devix, and we can see up here, my site content URL is also Devix. And the users inside this site are, a bunch of Final Fantasy VII characters for one, but they are going to be specific to the site. Now, over here in this other site, which we can see I gave this kind of this crazy name, Devix with an exclamation and temp with an @ sign, and there's a space in there. We'll notice that this name does not match the content URL. This is going to become important in a couple minutes when we're telling Tableau Server which site we want to switch to. We will be referencing the site by its content URL, not by its user-friendly site name. Okay, so let's take a look at the users in this site. We can see I've got some Game of Thrones characters in here. So I gave these sites different themes. One is like video game character names. One is Game of Thrones names, not just because I'm a absolute nerd. That might also be true, but because we want to just be able to verify as we pull this information, am I lying to you about pulling information from different sites, or are you actually seeing the information from these various sites as we cycle through them? All right, so you've seen the stage that we're setting here. Now let's take a quick look at the endpoint itself. This is an endpoint that Tableau Server provides to us. It's documented. So let's just look at it for a second. And we can see here, this is not available to anybody using Tableau Online. This is for Tableau Server only. And I think down here, if you want a better understanding of what a site name versus a site content URL, and maybe even comparing that to what a site ID is, this is maybe the best description I've ever seen. So thank you, Tableau, for putting this in your documentation. But give this a little attention. So note, the content URL is not the site name. Instead, the content URL is the value that in the server environment is referred to as the site ID. The content URL used in this method is not the site local unique identifier that's included in other methods. So basically, this is rehashing what I was attempting to explain over here, where we can see my site name is not the same as the actual site content URL. All right, keep that in mind. Now let's make some things happen. So we are jumping into a Jupyter notebook, and I've explained this a million times in other tutorials, so I'll just point you to the Getting Started with Tableau API-lib video if you have no idea what you're seeing here. And I explain what all of this is at the top, how you establish a connection to your server environment using Tableau API-lib. So for this video, we're just going to skip right over that explanation. And we are importing a couple things from the Tableau API-lib library, and we are defining the details of the connection. And one thing I will point out here, we'll note that when I establish this connection, I'm going to be connecting to my default site. What is your default site? It is, in a Tableau Server environment, the default site that exists whenever you create your installation. So let's keep that in mind as well. And the content URL for a default site is just an empty string. All right, so we have our connection information configured. Let's go ahead and connect to our Tableau Server site and sign in. And now let's get a list of all of the users that exist on this site. So for my default site, I only have 3 users on there. And I'm really just showing you this because we are pulling information about our users, but these are only the users on that site. You're going to notice here that we're not seeing the users, those Final Fantasy VII characters that were named or the Game of Thrones characters. All we see are these 3 people. So now in order to plan our attack here on how we're going to loop through all of our sites and get the users on each one, or if you were going to loop through all of your sites and do some other task, much of this process would be the same. You need to first know what are the sites that you're going to loop through. So rather than collecting manually all of your site content URLs and maintaining that as a list somewhere that's not going to update as maybe you create a new site on your server, well, now that manual list that you collected is going to be out of date. Instead of doing that, let's set ourselves up for success here and just take a look at how you could programmatically get get details about all of the sites that exist on your server. So one thing to note here, I am a server administrator, so I can see all of the sites. If you are just a Tableau viewer, like a consultant joining up a company and you were just given access yesterday and you don't have Tableau Server Administrator credentials, this process is probably not going to play out very well for you. You need to have the appropriate permissions to see everything on the server in order to build a process that's going to have access to reach into everything on the server. So keep that in mind. I am a Tableau Server Administrator here while we go through all of these steps. So we have 3 sites, it looks like. The name of each site, we have one that's named default, one that's named devix, and one that's named this crazy devix temp at. And if we scroll over, we're going to see actually we didn't really need to scroll at all. Right next to the name is the content URL. So there is no value for the content URL for your default site, which is why earlier I pointed out that it's an empty string. And then my content URL for devix is just devix. So for a lot of you out there, your site name will probably be the same as your content URL if there are only like URL friendly characters in there. Keep in mind, your Tableau server environment has to stitch that content URL into the URL itself. So you can't have things like exclamation characters or spaces in there, which is why when we look at these content URLs, for devix temp, those incompatible characters have been scraped out of the picture. There's no space, no exclamation, no @ symbol. All right, so now we have this site's information in a pandas data frame that we've stored into this sites DF. And something that's really handy about that, by the way, we got this as a data frame by using the querying section of the Tableau API-lib library. That just allows us to get certain types of information, like really common things you want to know about your server environment, and then store those into a pandas data frame. Now, one of the benefits we get from a pandas data frame is we could do something like what we see here, where we're going to loop through every row in that data frame. In other words, we're going to loop through each site, and we're going to just print out some information. We can see down here, we end up with something that says like site number 0 is named default, and its content URL is an empty string. Then we see for our second site, number 1, I guess that's 0 indexed. So site number 1 is named devix, and its content URL is devix. All right, so what have we done here? We've used the fact that this information is in a pandas data frame, and pandas data frames have this .iterRows method. So we're able to loop through and get information about that site as we pass through each of our sites. So why is this useful? Good question. Let's come down here and do something useful with that ability to loop through our sites. So we had mentioned we wanted to get all of our users on the site. Now, if we plan that out logically, what that could look like is Step 1, you log into your server. Step 2, you get information about all the sites on your server. Step 3, you loop through each one of those available sites and you get the users on that specific site. Then you could just take that list that's generated from each site that you're looking at, and you could store that somewhere. And that's what we do down here. We are going to basically create a data frame that's empty at the beginning. And then as we access each one of our sites, we're going to populate our users into that data frame. So by the time we finish looping through our sites, we've collected all the users for each site, and therefore we have all of the users on our server. So let's just dissect this a little bit. I do define an empty data frame at the beginning. That's because I want an object that I can append to. And then we are also having this empty list here, switch site responses. This is just something that I do. I think it's a best practice because then if something fails in your process here, you could also reference those switch site responses, and we would be able to see, like for example down here, when I was practicing this, this response code's 403. I wonder why that is. We'll see what that is later on, but we could see that for one of these sites, we get that 403 response, but then for these other ones, we get this 200 response code. And spoiler alert, 200 means it's successful, 403 means something went wrong. So we will see what's behind this later on. Now for this actual logic, let's just read through this like it's a book that we're reading. This index comma row, this is basically saying that in the iter_rows method, we could know what the index is of that row. So like down here, we see these row numbers. If we were iterating through this data frame, these numbers would be our index. And then you have the row itself, which contains the information that you're looking at. So we are going to loop through each one of our sites. And for each site, we're going to run this switch site method, which corresponds to this switch site endpoint that Tableau Server provides us. And then we're going to be switching to whatever the content URL value is for the row. In other words, for that site. So looking back up here really quickly, each one of these rows has a content URL value. And we're essentially just saying, I'm going to switch to that particular site. Then I am going to collect a user's data frame using the querying functionality available to us from tableau-api-lib. That's going to return us a pandas data frame with our users. And then I'm also going to add this extra piece of information that you don't need to do this, but I like to do this because it lets me know for any given user, as we can see down here, what site is that information relevant to. You might actually have users that exist in multiple sites, and so rather than having duplicate entries and maybe like their username is different on one site than it is from another, well, now you could just know for which site is this user information relevant. Anyways, then we have this little bit of logic down here that's saying if that server user's data frame is empty, then I want to just set my server user's data frame to be the user's data frame that I pulled. Otherwise, if this already exists, like if we're on our second or our third site already, I don't want to overwrite that information. Instead, I want to append information to that data frame. Lots of pandas is being used here. If you're completely new to pandas, I recommend going out. There's probably amazing tutorials on pandas out there. But this is just a really handy way for us to process this information. Pandas is great. So now let's take a look at when we actually run this. Let's see what happens when we get to our site responses. I still get that 403 response and those other 200s. So what's actually happening here with this 403 is that when I authenticated into my server environment, I'm already on my default site. So down here, when I try to switch to my default site on the first iteration of the loop, I'm getting this 403 error, which we could go out here to the documentation. We could scroll down. We could see that a 200 response code is what you expect to see. But then under errors, a 403 response code indicates that you cannot switch to a site that you are already on. So no big deal there, but this is one of the reasons why I like to keep tabs on this information, because if for some reason your process failed or wasn't behaving the way you expect it to, it's always good to be able to go back and kind of figure out what went wrong or how could you improve that process. So now we can take a look at what is inside that user's data frame that contains users from all of our sites. And we can see that I'm getting all of these Final Fantasy VII characters from the DevX site, and I'm getting all of these Game of Thrones characters from that DevX temp site. All right, so another thing we can do, because this is a pandas data frame now, you can do all kinds of handy things like count the number of users per site, start filtering that information, figure out how many different users you have with various roles. I'm doing a demo here, so I have pretty much everybody's unlicensed. And anyways, now let's just revisit this concept of switching sites and some of the consequences here. Keep in mind, we authenticated into the default site, but at the end of that loop, we never switched back to our default site. Something that I would recommend doing is, it's not a bad idea to switch your site at the end of this process back to the site that you started on, because maybe that's just it's a good anchor point, right? Like every time that you're authenticating into your site using the credentials that you define, like I define up here, I expect that I'm on the default site. So I don't want to just finish this loop of collecting my users and then do something that I assume I'm on my default site, but actually I'm on a different site. So I don't want to harp on this too much, but you can just check what site you're on by running the query site method. So this corresponds to the query site endpoint out here in the Tableau Server REST API reference. So you could read more about this if you want, but all it's doing is it's pulling information about my site, and then I'm just accessing what my site name is. So currently I'm on this DevX temp site. Now, if I wanted to, I could use what we've learned here about the switch site endpoint, and I could just switch back to that site whose content URL is an empty string, which in other words is my default site. And let's run this. We can see that I get the 200 response code, so that successfully switched sites for me. And now if I run what my site name is, it's going to say I'm on my default site. Now, just to verify that that 403 code we saw earlier was in fact because we were trying to switch to the site that we were currently on, let me do exactly that. Let's switch sites to the same site that we're already on. And now we'll see this 403 response code. And if we inspect the content of that response, it's going to say you cannot switch to the same site that the user is currently authenticated on. All right, so we've seen it all. We've seen using the switch site endpoint to switch to other sites available to you in your Tableau server environment. And hopefully this is really helpful for you as you work on building really robust automation into your Tableau environment. This is going to open the door for you to build a process that works for one site and then not have to manually switch sites to then execute that code, but rather build that as part of your automation. You can actually detect what sites are available to you and then take some action on all of those sites with one bit of programming. So thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.